Okie dokies, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. We are back to bring another video. This time around, we are chatting a little bit about a certain Scottish warrior and a true fan favourite. He's not really a fan. Well, I say he's not really a fan favourite. There are some that absolutely fancy the guy because in the modern day, in the modern game, if you are not falling in love with players and having wet dreams about them, what are you even supporting football for? But I digress with that. We're going to chat about the proposed exit out the door with Scott McTominay as the selected sacrificial lamb in the Ineos project in order to bringing Agate in from PSG. As we know from the story reports, with Manchester United needing to sign Manuel Agate as a priority midfield signing, what did we need to do? Sell a midfielder. Now, we had a few midfielders that we need to sell, quite a few. The likes of Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, of course, Scott McTominay, and then beforehand, Donny van der Beek as well. Can't forget Hannibal. So there's a whole host of names, a whole plethora of names of midfielders, of players that we need to sell. And so far, clearing that list is not going too well. It's not gone too well at all. So we're practically in August now. 1st of August, I believe it is. Is it the first? No, it's the second. We're already on the second. See, 28 days to go. 28 days left of the transfer market, by the way. 28 days and 2 weeks. 2 weeks until Premier League football returns. It's that soon, people. We are that close, and that many clubs in the Premier League specifically are still not fully prepped. They're still not fully prepped. Man United, one of them. Absolutely. Manchester United, one of them. So, a bit of necessary business is, of course, clearing deadwood. But one thing that's proven to be quite obvious is that even despite having one of the most elite boards on the planet, no real structure in place that could at all be better, some would say. But yet again, this board is finding itself hands tied behind its back, not really able to wriggle free, not really able to expand the borders of outreach. We're stuck on a single plane, stuck in 1D. Forget 2D, we haven't even made it to 1D yet. But yeah, it's not looking too hot. It's not looking too hot, but we can say, at least we can say that the people we can blame, thank God they're not here anymore. But these people are a real cancer, real cancer. The likes of your John Murtaghs, Richard Arnolds, Edward Wards, just to name a few. Hell, just for the sake of it, he'll probably be like, why am I catching strays? But Patrick Stewart as well, why not? Just chuck him in there. And maybe, I mean, actually, no, we won't include Darren Fletcher because even he had to have his job title redefined because he literally didn't know what his job or what the club was. So, yeah, that's great. But essentially, from beyond the grave, they still are having a negative impact on the club. From beyond the grave, these guys are literally in the shadow realm, and they're still got influence on some of the strings of this puppet that is Manchester United. So yeah, thanks guys. Literally wreaking havoc, I should say, wreaking havoc across the board at Manchester United Football Club, despite having the people in place, in charge, pushing to make real change. And I know they're pushing to make real change. We've seen real change happening, but it's not quite enough for us to feel satisfied with it. But I don't really blame the new board for it. So I suppose it's one of those things where we will be faced with disappointments. And they will say, it's not going well, is it? And I will say, well, it wasn't going well at all. We were heading towards down there, like way, way, way down there. That was our trajectory before this new board came in. The new board is here. It's a new lease of life. We're changing direction and we're moving upwards. But the road's bumpy. We will stumble. We will have embarrassments. We will have faults. We will have failures. It's a part of a process. And this process ain't about PR and pushing a toxic positive narrative. Actually, it's about genuine success and an intent to drive the club to be successful. But we can't do everything we want to do thanks to the last 10 years or 10 plus years. We can't do it. We can't do everything we need to do. So doing as much of it as we can seems to be the message at the moment. So, and with the midfield situation, with the 5 names that I've mentioned, the only person that's been out the door yet is Donny van der Beek, and he went for less than $1 million. Supposedly less than $1 million. Significant wages cleared, but still. So he's gone off to Girona. Casemiro's still here. We wanted to let him go to Saudi Arabia. Saudi decided, do you know what? For once, we're not interested. We're genuinely not interested. So Casemiro's not going anywhere. His fat wages are still here. And the guy's pretty much slowed down. So he's not really up to speed. You've got Christian Eriksen, who comes out and says, well, I'm happy here, so good luck getting rid of me. Again, clubs around Europe would like to sign him, but, well, we can't force a player out in any cheap means. We'd have to do all sorts to get rid of the player, but who knows? Who really knows? So Eriksen's still probably going to be here come the end of the summer. Then there's Hannibal. I think Hannibal is probably a player that's lined up for the exit door anyways. So I think it's one of those that he's just to get him a bit more, or just playing him in pre-season, just to entice a bit more traction or interest in the player. And to sort of paint the picture, he's in and around first team, come sign him. And probably get a cheap deal for him as well. So we won't make much money off of Hannibal, but yet still is another player off the books and another slot freed up on the roster. So we'll take what we can get with that department. But then the most likeliest asset to which we can cash in on, and it's probably the least desired from within the club, the least desire to sell on this asset, which is Scott McTominay. The club, or people inside the club, don't want to sell Scott. They don't want to let him go. They think that he's a very valuable asset to the squad. I personally disagree with that. Some fans will completely be head over heels with that. They'll be like, yes, we love Scotty. He tastes good. He tastes good. But, yeah, don't sell my beloved Scotty. And I will tell them, well, wherever he goes, you can give him the Ronaldo/Messi syndrome and become Scott McTominay FC. Make your own dedicated following to the player. Follow him wherever he may go. And from another show, quite an ironic comment, based off of where the player has been linked to go, is that regardless of whether he stays or goes, his first game of the season is going to be at Old Trafford because he is linked to Fulham. And I think everybody knows he's been linked to Fulham. We've had a first bid from Fulham rejected, and then the second bid rejected also, but it was improved fairly significantly. But Manchester United, instead of saying, no, we're not selling him, we're not selling to you. They've actually kept the door open and said, this is the fee that we will let him go to you. This is the fee, and it's well within Fulham's reach. So Fulham have essentially not said, no, he's not worth that. They've actually said, well, give us some time to think about it. So there may be a little bit of a compromise, but I believe that that is a deal that's waiting to happen. And in the nature of this deal happening, it's not because the club genuinely are desperate to get rid of him. They're desperate to get the money in, to bring in the target. And I think that's a sacrifice worth making, because ultimately, if Casemiro's here, I think he's not playing ahead of Manuel Ugarte and or Kobbie Mainoo, because Mainoo's pretty much established himself as a first teamer. Casemiro was the player alongside him, but you bring Ugarte in, Ugarte's meant to be the player that then plays alongside Mainoo. You know, you sign a player to be a part of the project, you've got to make him quite a key figure in the team. So, listen, Ugarte comes in, plays next to Mainoo, whether that provides the midfield with the ideal preference of balance, I think we're yet to see. I still think that there is a more suitable midfielder. I personally think Zubimendi as the alternative to an Ugarte deal. I personally would say Zubimendi, there's more value for this team specifically to signing that player instead of an Ugarte. But at the end of the day, it's what Ineos, it's what Ten Hag, it's what the collective want to do. So we'll trust in what they want, in the premise that they have the plan, that they have the vision, and they're pushing upon that vision, and not sort of having to take detours or try and restructure as they go along because of XYZ issues. So yeah, I think Scott McTominay, sell him. If we can get around 30 mil, that would be ideal. And yeah, we can sort out this this midfield signing in Ugarte, and then push on to more pressing matters. For example, the buy and double bid, and had that rejected. So we double bid for De Ligt and Mazraoui, both of which were rejected as a lump sum package, both all together. And they said no, not having them. Which is interesting, considering it's reported that it garnered negative reaction from the intermediaries that deal directly with the players. They came out supposedly and said, what are Bayern doing? The client, you want to sell our clients, but you're declining bids. Make that make sense, people. But Bayern were adamant, well, we want X amount for De Ligt, and we won't sell for anything less. Which I suppose in various instances, it's Bayern trying to basically say to Man United, well, we can't take the piss out of you, but you will not take the piss out of us. And I think with Manchester United, the incentive to going after a player like De Ligt is tenfold increased because of the Lenioro injury, which, by the way, a full run of fixtures that he may end up missing through this injury is ridiculous. Genuinely ridiculous. Just in the Premier League alone, by the way. So he could miss. He may come back sooner, but as it stands, he's plotted to miss these following games. So Manchester City Community Shield, we all know that. Fulham at home, Brighton away, Liverpool at home, Southampton away, Crystal Palace away, Tottenham at home, Aston Villa away, Brentford at home, and West Ham away. So 9 Premier League games he could be set to miss, plus then your midweek fixtures in, say, Carabao Cup and also Europa League. Because Europa League apparently is doing the same format as Champions League this year. So, League, Europa League formats. We'll see how that one goes. But yeah, it's not great. The incentive to sign the centre-back is pivotal, and it's becoming a bit more sort of panic stations with this, because the big, most important games are literally just around the corner. Getting these deals done has got to happen like that. Now we play Liverpool. Last game on the US preseason tour on well, in America it'll be on Saturday, but for us over here in the UK, it will be on Sunday, early hours of the morning. Supposedly within the next day, local to the US, United will then fly straight back, pretty much after the game or the very next morning, and begin preparing for the Community Shield game. Supposedly, I don't know whether there's any truth to this, supposedly there's a load of actions that have been basically just lined up, pinned up on the to-do list. That's basically once they're back in the country, everything should start happening, and they'll start knocking down all of the agendas on the to-do lists that they've got plotted there at back at base. So it's going to be interesting to see what change is going to happen when United get back from the US tour, because since they've been on the US tour, in terms of deals and selling and buying, it's all been very standstill, very, very standstillish. So I'm intrigued to see if Ineos do just suddenly speed things right up when they get back, or whether there's still a bit of, standoff standoff type negotiations between clubs, trying to sort of hardball Man United to pay up or shut up. And I think with Manchester United, if the monetary side of things doesn't resolve itself, then we will start having to look at alternatives. And when we start having to do that, that's when things may start to go wrong or go from bad to worse. And in Man United's case, we can't afford that to be the case. So and not only to mention, but with Rasmus Højlund out for about 6 weeks himself, instead of a minor training injury or a minor injury in the game where it's just a precaution, the fact that he's probably going to be missing up until about the Crystal Palace game, probably between Southampton and Crystal Palace. He may be back over the international break after we play Liverpool on September 1st. So, but even then, we've only got Joshua Zirkzee as the only first-team striking option. So you almost have to wonder, well, who's the bench option then? Who comes off the bench? Definitely not Wheatley, because Wheatley's not. He's not the sort of player that you say, yeah, he's definitely going to be first-team option. That would be like Arsenal pushing for Eddie Nketiah to come through as the third striker option behind Jesus and Havertz if he was breaking through in the first team. But he's not necessarily the level that you need a striker in that role to be. He's not quite the level. So maybe there is words to be had about a last couple of days plunge in the market for a quick fix striker, a small loan deal for somebody with a bit of experience to just say, well, you're here not to be the big change, but you're here to cover for everybody else. Now, who that sort of player would be, Wout Weghorst, whether you want to go with Wout Weghorst as that type of player, but I think there's a lot of question marks surrounding the outcomes of Manchester United's transfer window at the moment. And of course, with the injuries and picking injuries up as we go along, I mean, 2 games in the US tour, 2 injuries per game. Rashford injury scare, Antony injury scare. Antony's back training again. Not that really makes any difference, but still, it's concerning. It is massively concerning, and I think if we play Liverpool and any further injuries occur in that game, then I think Ineos will come back to the UK and straight away they'll call the medical team in and just be like, well, what's going on? You know, you guys got to give us the rundown. What's the issue here? Because there's no way that after holidays, after these players have had rests, that they've had the pre-season warm-ups and everything, that everyone's just getting injured again. And literally just in pre-season, like we've not even got into like several months deep into the season with these injuries occurring. This is pre-season. They've only played a couple of games, so their bodies are already breaking down. I dread to think what the fitness for the squad's going to be like by the time we reach December, January time. I dread to think. So yeah, we need to look at the medical departments at the club and sort things out there. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think about the subject spoken about today. Whether you think selling Scott's is the right idea. Anthony Herbert, I know you will sit there in the comments and say that I'll be crying myself to sleep because we're selling my favourite player. Swivel on it, Anthony Herbert. Swivel on it. But yeah, let me know what you think. Are you happy that Scott's going? Are you sad? And what do you think about the Agate stuff? What do you think about other midfielders and pending exits? And perhaps centre back outgoings as well, because we still plot to sell a centre back to make way for the De Ligt deal. But personally, I feel like that the finances don't really quite add up for us to wait to sell before buying the players and getting them in the door. I personally think that Manchester United will sign these players before selling the players that were meant to be replacing the outgoings. So I personally think that there is, in essence, there's numerical sheets somewhere that they're looking at and plotting up to say, well, by the time we get to September 1st, our data sheets have got to look like XYZ. If we don't hit financial values, correlating to what our working outs are financially, we can't progress at the speed we want to over the coming seasons. We'd have to spend longer to get ourselves up to where we need to be. But that's a whole other topic for us to pick our brains about. If further information does come out about that, then I'm sure we will address it. But guys, don't forget, be sure to smash a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Up to 204. We weren't 205, but we dropped a couple, but we've gone back up one. So we're big ups to the one subscriber there. Very, very much a big thank yous to them, as to everybody else, all other 203 other subscribers. Big thank yous to all of you, and big thank yous to everybody that does continue to sub from here on out. So yes, once again, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back maybe tomorrow, depending on what happens in terms of story fronts, but you'll definitely catch me on Sunday night with the takeaway show at 8 o'clock. So yes, do keep your eyes peeled for that. We will be streaming it live from this channel once again. But yeah, aside from that, guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of your Friday nights, however you be choosing to spend it. And yes, enjoy a phenomenal weekend. Hopefully the heat sticks around. So if the sun's out, get your buns out. No, don't get your well, actually get your buns out, but for barbecue purposes, yeah. Get the meat on the grill. Not your meats, but your store-bought meats. But anyways, take care, people. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again very soon.